All right, hey, hello, I'm Jerry McKee, and welcome to Prime Time. It's Monday at 7 o'clock, and we got Mark Cathcart. It's going to be telling you some great things that I don't even know about, and that's some like dirt. You know about dirt? Well, Mark can tell you about dirt. He can also tell you about cows. He can tell you about plants, a lot of stuff, and even cooking. So we're going to tap into his knowledge. And Mark is the director or 4-H?
4-H Youth Development Agent.
So we're going to come back and he's going to talk to you a little bit more about that. And so we'll be back right after this message.
Your love holds us close and guides us even if we're apart. Most of us, if not all, get a defining moment in life. My moment is when I met you on that beautiful, breezy night. The instant my eyes connected with yours. The shift in my life emerged. You are my everything.
All right, I'm going to check some audio here to make sure everything's on. And let's see, I know I want this on here. And we're going to cut this one off here, and we're going to cut this one off here, and there we go. All right, let me switch over to Mark. How you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Oh, that's great. And Mark, now, when you was little, I know that your dad was an auctioneer, but
yes.
did he have a lot of cows and stuff on the farm, or?
Yes, sir. Grew up all around cows all my life. We had some horses too, and at times there was no telling what we'd have. We'd have some goats, we'd have some pigs, and so that's the way I grew up on that little small farm. Of course, we leased land here and there, and we did a lot of cutting hay, and so I grew up in the hayfield, grew up in the cow pasture, and grew up doing 4-H here in this county.
Oh, wow. So you're really getting conditioned to what you're doing now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I started in 4-H when I was 9 years old, and it's kind of interesting that the very first time I ever halter broke a calf and showed her at the fair, it was right here at Union County Fair. And full circle, been all over the place. I've shown cows, all across this nation as a junior and as a professional for a little while, and I've come back to Union, and now I'm the one that's actually putting on the shows. Of course, I help the Union County Fair, and we have those shows in October. So sometimes things do come full circle. Well,
it's amazing that that you started out with all these things, and then most people, like when I grew up, had dogs stuff, so I don't go into dog catching or go into the dog park, but now people don't understand that you actually a graduate from Clemson.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I graduated in 1995 with an animal science degree, and I was a business and production major. So went into farm management for a while, ran a few farms all around the state. So we ended up meeting my wife when I was in Georgetown and running a plantation down there in a large cattle operation. And So we got the opportunity to move back up here and go into the cow business for ourselves, and that's what we did. And it's been kind of rough at times, but here we are.
Tell me a little bit about because when I was reading your bio, that when it talks about animal science, elaborate on that. What is animal science? Because I graduated from USC, and I still don't know what animal science is.
So when you go to Clemson and you take animal science, you are taking classes that are, a lot of the classes are the same when you start off, especially as vet science, and you animal phys, physiology. You take a lot of economics. You take a lot of chemistry. You take a lot of biology. And a lot of people don't really realize that it's they think it's just you learn how to go and feed cows, and that's not all of it. You do learn how to feed cows. One of my toughest classes was feeds and nutrition, and how to formulate feed rations, and all those things tie together. We learned about the economics of the cattle business and the farm business in general. We even learned about how the stock market affects agriculture. And
now, the feeding part.
Yes, sir.
To me, is that go buy a bag. It's like to a dog food and stuff.
Yeah.
Go buy a bag and you feed. But it's a little bit more to that, especially when it comes to cattle, isn't it?
It is. It is. So you can feed cattle for a specific purpose, and you feed them one type of feed when they're young and they're growing, they're developing their bones, their structure, they're developing their muscles. Then when you get them, they get to a point, if they're going into production as far as being a brood cow, you feed them a little bit of something different because you want the rest of their body to develop properly. And then if you're finishing one off for harvest, you feed it a little bit different because you want to add that muscle mass in there and that marbling, and so that it's good quality meat. And the basis of all this, of course, is the safety of what you're feeding them. You can't just feed them anything. And so we're very fortunate that here in the United States of America, we have a extremely safe food production structure.
Right.
And so as a matter of fact, the restraints that the industry puts on itself is greater than what the USDA puts on us. So we're very conscientious about what we feed our animals and where they're going to next, which is to the consumer.
Riding down the road and looking at cows out in the fields, stuff like that. I don't know why I think it's the only thing they're going to turn around all day is just eating that grass and a little bit of hay, and that's it. But it's a lot more to it, isn't it?
There's a lot more to it, and even if you've got a grass-based business to where you're primarily feeding them grass, well, you turn into a grass farmer then, and you're just using the cows to harvest that grass. And so you have to get into your soils. You have to know what your soil needs. You have to balance your pH so that the plants can and the grass can harvest the nutrition out of the soil, and you got to put back into it. We're not just out there just taking. We got to continuously put back into the soil so that we can have a safe and healthy animals.
That kind of makes sense, because that's like your grass you mow. If you want pretty green grass, stuff like that, you got to add some nutrients back to it, fertilizer, whatever like that, to make it the greener and stuff. Now, not only cows, but you have knowledge of like goats and.
Yes, we do, and I utilize that a lot in what I do now as a 4-H agent, because we have a lot of different projects, and those animal projects that we provide, of course, we have dairy heifer project, and we have in the summertime right here in Union, we have the dairy heifer kickoff, and so people from across the state come here to Union. We bring those animals here, and they've signed up to do this project. It's like a lottery system. They pull out a number, and that's their animal. They take it home, they keep it, and raise it up, and then it's sold at public auction. Mm-hmm. Usually we do it online now, and the dairymen buy them back and put them back into their herd for producing milk. And so that happens here in Union in the summertime. The kickoff, that's a dairy heifer project. We have beef projects for kids that are interested in beef cows. We have a goat project that we'll call it small ruminant project. So it's the goats and the sheep and those animals. And same kind of scenario. We have a pullet project, and they get baby chicks, day-old baby chicks, and a lot of people did that growing up. You know, they can remember in the 60s and the 70s. They're like, you ask a lot of people, you know, if you've been in 4-H, oh, we got 4-H chickens, and that's the we ended up with 150 chickens, you know, that kind of thing.
Now, the kids are saying in 4-H, it's like a picture we're showing right now with the goats here. You got a child there, so you really let them get interactive and teach them how to take care of these animals and all the things that goes with of taking care of, like how do you go and get a goat milk? I couldn't get up there and say, okay, I couldn't figure out which one I need to get milk from.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. It is extremely hands-on. These projects, they have an animal, and they are spending a lot of time with those animals. They are constantly monitoring their nutrition. They're constantly monitoring their health. They train them because we come together in the fall a lot of times, and they bring them and compete against each other. And part of that competition is how well they display their animal. So if they hadn't spent a lot of time with that animal, irregardless of the animal, goat, cow, doesn't really matter. If they hadn't spent a lot of time with that animal, then it shows up in the show ring because they won't cooperate with each other. And it becomes a bond between them and the animal.
Well, even with like the rooster right here, that looks like won first place there. Because I'm thinking, well, the rooster's just going to run around, it's going to peck me, and I'm not going to do this. How do you groom a rooster?
Okay,
I mean, that looks good.
So this is a rooster. It's actually a picture from our fair this past year. And we have a cage competition where anyone in the county and surrounding counties, they can bring their chickens, and we have a rooster category, we have a hen category. They can bring them in, enter them, and they stay there all week. They're judged and they're on display. But we also, with our pullet project, that's where the kids get the day-old chicks, and they get those in the springtime and raise them all summer, and then they bring them back and show them. Now that's a little bit different situation. We have that's a specific show, and normally what the 4-Hers will do is they'll pick out one or two that they really like, that they really think's quality, and they will spend a lot of time with them. And I'm gonna tell you, it's something to behold, because they take these chickens, and like you just said, most people think, oh, chickens just run around,
right?
But they have spent so much time with these pullets, and of course the pullets are the females, and they've spent a lot of time with them, and there's a proper way to remove them from the pen. They bring them up, they set them on a table. There's a judge there that's asking them questions, and they have to stand it up. They set it up so that it looks the best that it can. And they have a little stick, and they make it walk up the table and walk back down the table, just so the judge can see that there's nothing wrong with it, that they don't have a limp, or that they've been well taken care of. And these kids, they take these chickens and they wash them, and they take and wash their feet so that they're nice and clean, and they brush them and get them all clean and nice and pretty, and they get judged against each other. And
wow, so they even chicken walking the stick. I mean,
they're trained. Yeah, they train them to do that. They actually train them to do that.
I did not know that they went that far, even washing the chicken.
Yes, and very seldom do you have one that gets startled and just flies off the table. They are normally just stand there.
They're pretty calm?
They're pretty calm. But now these kids have spent a lot of time over the summer with them.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So the chicken gets really used to them. And,
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I just have this picture, well, sometimes I see where people going to get eggs or something, and the chicken's flocking and all that right there. I'm just wondering, gosh, man, I can't train my dog to do some things that chicken can do.
Yeah, it's amazing some of the things that they that these chickens can learn, and it's if you've never seen it, you should come to the fair this year and see the pullet show.
Now, not only do animals, I know this picture here I was looking at here. It is some crafts.
Yes.
And is this something that you teach also?
So this is in our Ag Products building, and this is the building that's right beside. It's between the chicken barn and the extension office. And so we do some of these things. We do teach our kids. We've got the FCL ladies. Mm-hmm. They are the ones that pretty much run this part of the fair. And anyone can bring crafts in. Anyone can bring crocheted items, knitted items, quilts, things like that. And they're entered into the fair, and they judge them against each other. You can actually win a few dollars and win a ribbon. And so some of these entries are from our 4-Hers. Mm-hmm. We had 4 counties this year that I know of that 4-Hers brought things and entered into our fair. So if you got a craft that you do, need to think about October and bring it to the fair, and let's see how it does.
Well, and this is a question somebody might be thinking. Says, well, and we'll come back to that right after we do this commercial here. Ask what is it? Just boys, or is it boys and girls? We'll be able to. We'll come back to that right after this commercial right here from Keepsake Jewelers. We'll be right back talking to Mark Cathcart.
Your love holds us close and guides us even if we're apart. Most of us, if not all, get a defining moment in life. My moment is when I met you on that beautiful, breezy night. The instant my eyes connected with yours. The shift in my life emerged. You are my everything.
All right, we're back, and we're talking to Mark Cathcart. Now, my question before we went into this commercial like that was is it for boys and girls? Because some people think, well, the farmer and this right here is strictly for the young men and boys and all this right here. But I have a friend of mine that she raises chickens, and I tell you what, she's got names for each one. She's just wonderful, and her eggs is like different colors of eggs. I thought, man, that's pretty.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Generally speaking, agriculture is not for the guys exclusively anymore.
Right.
There are more and more women that are in agriculture, and 4-H, we take anyone from 5 to 18. Boys, girls. We have a lot of girls in our 4-H clubs. And as a matter of fact, I just came back yesterday afternoon from what we call Junior Team Weekend, and that is a 4-H camp it's a 2-night stayover camp at Camp Long. And maybe some of you folks have been to Camp Long when you were growing up. It's the 4-H camp that from years and years ago. And this is just kind of a little taste of the camp experience. And we had twice as many girls as we did boys.
Wow.
Yes.
Now what's the age group? I think you just covered it, a little bit of it. But what?
5 to 18.
5 to 18.
Yes, sir.
And so you have kind of different programs set up for, of course.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We do, and we break them up into categories. We've got the juniors, the seniors, the clover buds, and there's different activities. And different opportunities for each of those. But I will say, like on the animal side, we have participants in all the projects, all the way from the 5-year-olds all the way up to the 18-year-olds. And so they, but when they show, usually we break them down in age categories,
right?
So that they're showing more closely to their experience level. But they still all those age groups participate in those, and some of my clubs we have bacon buddies. I do that once a month, and these 4-Hers come and we meet right after school. And I've had, sometimes they're a younger group. It's just whoever can come that month,
right?
And so I've had as many as like 20, 25 in there, and they're everything from high school age 4-Hers down to elementary school 4-Hers, and they're all in there working together and helping each other. It just
I can imagine some of the older ones, probably the younger.
Some of the older ones are helping some of the younger ones, and that's really kind of the purpose. We don't really tell them that we're training them to be leaders, but that's the purpose, and it works out really great.
Now, this picture right here, I'm gonna kind of put us between you there.
Okay.
Is that like a heater that you get warmed up to?
No, that's not what that is. So this is a picture of a forge. And we have something extremely unique here in Union. I started a program about 2 years ago. It's called Forged in 4-H. And so I've been a blacksmith for 7, 8 years. And I really love doing that. And I wanted to turn it into a project and to something I could teach kids to do. And so I started off with a small homeschool group. And we didn't have very much of anything really, and I was taking things out of my shop, bringing for the 4-H meeting, taking them back home, and you can imagine that gets old in a hurry.
Yeah, especially, I can imagine it's pretty heavy.
Everything in blacksmithing is heavy and expensive. So we can cover the heavy part, the expensive part is the problem a lot of times. So it was along about 4 months into it when this group that I was working with, I kind of realized that this was something that was going to stick. And it just so happened that Clemson came out with an internal grant opportunity for agents, and I applied for it. It was called an innovation grant. And so I applied for it and ended up getting $5,000. That was the grant level that I qualified for. So I took that and I went to the City of Union. And the City of Union has been very kind to the 4-H program here in this county. So if you know a city council member, thank them for doing that, because when I have a need, they help me out if at all possible. And I went to them and asked them for a one-time additional amount of money to help me buy the tools that I needed. And so they helped me out, and I put together a set of tools that I've got 8 stations. With the anvil, the hammers, tongs, 2 forges, and I've been teaching it now for a little over 2 years. It's been really successful because I still have the original homeschool group that I'm still teaching, but I also started another group. So we've got 2 clubs going, and additionally, I put on summer day camps, and one of the requirements was how is this going to help the citizens of South Carolina? So I ended up getting a trailer from the university that no one was using, that I could load everything up, and now I can go to any 4-H club in the state and put on a day camp so that they can get a taste of it. And so we've done a lot of camps, a lot of counties up to this point. But it is this program here is the only program that's teaching blacksmithing through 4-H in the state of South Carolina, and really it's the only one in the Southeast doing it the way that I'm doing it. There are schools that teach it, there are groups that teach it, but to offer it to 4-Hers this is very unique, and not everyone can afford to go to those schools, and because sometimes they're kind of expensive, but I'm giving them that opportunity, and it's doing well. As a matter of fact, next weekend we will be at a setup at Walker Days. We go to it. We went last year. We're going again this year, and we set up a couple of stations. And the kids that I've been teaching will be doing demonstrations, and we put out some of the things that they've made. And this is one of my 4-Hers right here.
Yeah, I was going to say, he looked like awful young to be handling a big old hammer.
Yes, he is now 12, and he started off when he was 10.
Wow.
Yep. And so he has come a long way. They have learned a lot, and you think maybe that blacksmithing, we'll just heat up some metal and beat on it. Well, these kids, when I started off with them, I said, now I'll teach you this, and I'm going to teach you the way I want to teach you. So we have learned about physics. We have learned about geometry. We have learned about chemistry. We've done a lot of math, and that's all part of it. And so it's not just heating up metal and beating a piece of metal out and seeing what happens.
Now, what are you making with? So most people, I'm thinking myself, for horses. Shoes for horses.
And that's what everybody thinks. Yeah. So we're not making horseshoes, but we make a lot of stuff out of horseshoes. And what I like to do is get metal that other people have discarded and give it a new life. Mm-hmm. So I kind of coined myself as a junkyard blacksmith years ago, but we also use new metal and bought metal to make some things. But I like to teach them what type of metal to use, and they are to the point now where I've got several of them, whenever their dad loads up scrap metal, they raid the truck before it goes, because they're like, no, this is more valuable. And it's teaching them the chemical makeup of different types of metal, that, hey, this is worth more than, 4 cents a pound. Right. We can make something out of this. And so we actually do. I've got some farriers that help me out, and they give me the used horseshoes sometimes. Mm-hmm. And we've made hooks, we've made hat racks, boot racks. I've even shown them how to make knives out of them, and that's something everybody loves to. They love to see a horseshoe knife.
Right.
All the metal like that we use it's actually been on horses, and so I teach them how to do that. We use some old ag steel, like from plows, and some things from cars and trucks, springs, and teach them how to use that.
The metals you use is the metals different from the heat that you're going to heat them. How long are you going to heat them in the what do you call it? Is it a pot?
In the forge.
In the forge.
Yep.
Okay. Does it make a difference as far as the heat pertaining to the type of metal that you're using?
It does. It does. And so some of the things that we make, so horseshoes are made out of something called mild steel. And mild steel has a low carbon content, or a medium to a low carbon content. Mm-hmm. Now, the beauty of that is it's easier to work, and if you need to cool it off real quick, which is called quenching it, you can quench it in water, and it's about the same way as it was before you quenched it. But high carbon steel, which is like spring steel, your coil springs, your flat springs, and things like that, if you quench it in water, then it'll get so brittle that you can break it like glass. And that's one of the demonstrations I use to show them, because I don't like to just tell kids things. Right. I want to show them.
Well, they learn more in showing them and hands-on experience.
That's right, with the hands-on.
Now, do you have certain safety things you got to wear?
Oh my goodness, yes.
And all before you, because I can imagine when you're hammering this out, you got probably sparks flying.
Yes, we go through a lot of safety. As a matter of fact, the group that I started with, it was about 3 months or so before we even turned the forge on. And we worked with clay. So clay moves a lot like hot metal, so we work with clay and rubber hammers a lot, so teaching them the techniques. But safety, gosh, we use aprons, we use gloves, we use eye protection, we use hearing protection, and I go through all and of course we wear natural fiber clothes, mostly it's cotton, boots, closed-toed shoes, your pants outside of your boots, so we don't have any sparks or slag fall down in there. That'll teach you how to dance really quick. And so all of these things are taught. We teach fire safety. We teach propane. We go into the actual chemical makeup of propane, and why do we have to be safe, and checking out the equipment, making sure that we're working with good equipment, and all those things. We go through safety is paramount to what we're doing. And you do occasionally get a burn or two, and it always hurts, but it's usually superficial. Usually it's just a touch, and when they've gone through all this safety, they're operating as safe as they can.
Right. And now, when you make these things, do the children, do they sell these products?
So we actually go, like when we go to Walker Days next weekend, we'll have a table set up. We actually went to Orangeburg to the Grand American back in January. They asked us to come down there and set up. And we'll have the things out, and usually we'll ask for a donation for things that they make. We've got some. I've got one young lady that she makes hearts that you can make necklaces out of or bracelets out of, and I don't even know how many she's made. And those are really neat things that people like. We do the horseshoe knives or something that people like. Hooks. Everybody can use a hook. You always need a hook to hang something on.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and we take nails and make hooks. We take scrap pieces of metal and make hooks. We take angle iron and all these things that they have a story behind them. A lot of them. I take duplex nails and make little tiny swords and just give them out. I just give them to kids walking by, and just as a means of showing them how to do it. Right. And them walking away with something and introducing them to 4-H.
Okay. Well, we're going to go to the commercial and come back. I want you to talk about, most people might not know what Walker Days are or the program. That way you can kind of tell a little bit about that and where you're going to be set up there and what they're going to be able to see.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Your love holds us close and guides us even if we're apart. Most of us, if not all, get a defining moment in life. My moment is when I met you on that beautiful, breezy night. The instant my eyes connected with yours. The shift in my life emerged. You are my everything.
All right, Mark, you kept saying about Walker Days here. Let people know a little bit about that and where it's going to be located and where you're going to be at there also, because that's a big event coming up.
It is. It is a big event. There'll be folks come from a lot of different states, and it's held at the fairgrounds. It's next weekend, Friday and Saturday, a little bit on Thursday. But these folks come together and they have a passion for coon dogs. And there's a competition that happens at night, and they draw out and cast and go out and hunt. But during the day, there's vendors there. If you need anything for your dog, collars, leashes, anything like that, there'll be somebody there selling it, hunting attire, and there'll be dogs and dogs and dogs. And they also have something called a bench show, which is kind of like a beauty contest for hound dogs.
Right.
And so it's pretty interesting. And these dogs come in and they're all spiffed up and clean, and they walk them around and they stand them up on a table, and they have to stand right, and they have to hold their tail right and hold their head right, and they get judged on their conformation and how well they're put together and how well they're shown. But that goes on too. On Friday and Saturday, but it's a good event to come to. We'll be there. We'll be down on the lower end of the fairgrounds, down toward the stadium. That's usually where we set up. And come by and see us.
And they'll be able to see some of the
things that the kids have made. Yeah, that's
great.
Exactly right.
I don't think my dog would qualify as a coon dog. With a little dress on it like that? No, they wouldn't.
We met earlier, and maybe not, but you never can tell. You never can tell.
Now, here's a picture of your group there showing cows.
Yeah. So
I know we talked about chickens being groomed up and everything like that.
Yes.
What about the cows?
So this is actually a picture from the Garrison Arena at Clemson, and this is a picture from Spring Dairy Show, which happens in March. And this event is put on by the Spring Dairy Committee, and we'll have folks from about 7 different states that come to South Carolina and display their dairy animals: Guernseys, Jerseys, Holsteins, Ireshires, Brown Swiss, that's the breeds that will be there represented. And we'll have 350 animals there. These folks bring them, and they are a lot of heifer project kids will be there with their heifer project, and they compete for prizes, they compete for money, for ribbons, and they put in a lot of effort into these animals. We talked about a chicken.
Right.
Well, you can pick a chicken up and wash his feet. It's a little more difficult to pick a cow up and wash their feet. But like I said, these folks, these kids, they have spent a lot of time with these animals, and these animals are extremely used to being handled and touched and washed and prettied up. I mean, they even get their hooves polished, and they get their hair clipped, and they look good and smell good, and it's like a beauty pageant for cows too.
Yeah. And to me, that's kind of amazing, because you think you're seeing cows out in the field right here, and I've seen a couple of these shows like this, and I said, man, they look like pets. You
Yes.
bring them in your house, and a little big to bring in your house, but especially potty training. Yeah. But they're beautiful animals. They are,
and I can't emphasize enough the time that these kids spend with these animals, because you've got some kids that play sports, and they go to school and they leave, go to practice, and then they come home, do the homework, do whatever, and that's their day. These kids go to school, they come home, they go to the barn.
Right.
And they get up in the morning and they go to the barn, and then they come back and get ready and go to school, and that's their life. They really love it.
A lot of work.
It is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. There's a real bond there that happens between these 4-H'ers and their animals, and they take care of them extremely well.
There's another thing that your group in the 4-H and that you do that, like for instance, if I want to make me a little garden out here, if I'm trying to grow stuff and it seems like it's not doing well, they actually can bring soil samples right to you?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Second.
Yes, we take soil samples at the extension office, and this picture here is actually the school garden that is at Buffalo Elementary. And this was one of the first pictures when they were first putting it together. It looks way better now. They've added to it. It's elaborate. It is extremely nice. We have school gardens at most of the schools now in Union County. And 4-H helps support those through education, through support if they have problems. And we also provide plants at certain times of the year that we deliver actually to the school that they put in. And all the school, the teachers use it from science to you name it, and they can bring them out and have lessons. But the soil samples, so these are raised bed gardens.
Right.
And if someone wants to grow just a small amount, or maybe they're elderly and they can't get it down all the way to the ground like they used to, this is a great way to go, because you can raise the bed up to where you can reach it easier, and it's more contained. It's a little easier to control the weeds,
right,
and to control what's going on. But we do soil samples. You can take a soil sample from your garden area. We do soil samples for anything, from if you got fruit trees even and have some problems, take some soil samples and see if that tree needs something. Your yard, if it doesn't look like you think it should, you take some soil samples, and we can tell you how to do that. It's really simple. Bring it in. We fill out the information. We send it over to the lab at Clemson. About 7 to 10 business days, you'll get a report back. They'll email your report, and it'll tell you exactly what you need to do. And a lot of people, here's what people do. They put down 1717 on their garden, or they put down 10-10-10. Well, why do you do that? Well, that's what my grandpa used. Well, that might not be what you need. And we can send that soil sample off and find out exactly what you do need. And when you get it back, if you don't really understand what it's saying, you can always come to the extension office and we can interpret it for you. We can help you do the calculations, and you can put down exactly what you need for those plants, because fertilizer is expensive. I don't know if you bought any fertilizer lately, but it is the days of the $5 fertilizer are over. They're over. And we don't want to waste any of that fertilizer. We don't want to over fertilize what you're trying to do. there's several reasons for that. Number one, the most obvious reason is we don't want to waste any money, because if you're putting down, $25 a bag fertilizer and you only need half a bag, then you're throwing $12.50 away. But another reason is, especially if you live close to a watershed, a creek, a branch, a river, we don't want those nutrients to wash away and get into our river systems, into our water, and contaminate it. That's exactly right. And I'll say this, a lot of times farmers get the blame for water being contaminated, but it is difficult. Agriculture is difficult to turn a profit in as it is. Farmers can't afford to waste money on fertilizer. And so you can imagine, if you're on your garden, if you end up wasting $3 or $4, that's not really a big deal economically. But if you do that over 1,000 acres, that's a lot of money, and they don't want to do that. So farmers take soil samples all the time, just so they can stay on top of what the health of their soil is, so that they can put down just exactly what the plants need, and there's not a waste.
If you don't put it down right, you can actually burn up your crop. Or
oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it could really be totally messed up for you. Now, switching gears on the solar. Now, the people might think, says, well, I don't have time. You're usually gone by the time I get off at 5 o'clock or get through like that. And they can bring that soil. I've seen Zeke. Is that his name?
Yeah. Old Zeke and Tater. We have to help Zeke and Tater a good bit. And so we do actually have a drop box. And if you're it's right in front of our office, on the outside of the chain link fence at the fairgrounds. And so if it's going to be off time, it's going to be, if the only time you can come by is on the weekend, if the only time you can come by is, after hours, that's not a problem. Just give us a call. Miss Sandra, she will answer the phone, and she'll give you some instructions on just exactly how to do it. You drop that soil in there. When we come back to the office, we take it out, we'll fill it out, we'll get you taken care of.
And they can go on the website and watch the video of Zeke and Tater doing
That's
that.
right. You can always go to Union County SC 4H. You got to put that SC in there. But Union County SC 4H, and go to videos. And if you got about 3.5 hours, we can entertain you and educate you on a little bit of things, a few things. We call it edutainment. And so anything from taking a soil sample to Dutch oven cooking to you name it. We even have a skunk video on there on how to take care of your skunk problem.
Oh, okay. Well, let's switch gears here a little bit right here. This guy right here seems like he got a big fish.
Oh my goodness, yes. So something I really, really love to do is fish. And like I mentioned a while ago about forage and 4-H, I kind of think about the things I love to do, and lo and behold, a lot of kids like to do it too. So
right.
I love to fish, and we have a fishing project that we do. It's the Upstate Fishing Project, and we'll start it sometime in April. We'll have sign-ups that will start next month. And this is actually a day camp that we put on, I believe it was last summer. And we did it right here in Union, and this young man caught this nice bass. And we take kids and we teach them how to use a rod and reel. We teach them how to tie fishing knots. We teach them how to use certain baits. And then we actually take them fishing. And they have had a good time. We actually did that one at Big D's Carp Lake. And the kids had a wonderful time. The fishing project, they get a record book. And this is actually my daughter. She did the fishing day camp with us.
Oh, okay.
And so she's got a little
So it's for boys and girls.
Boys and girls,
right.
yes. I'm gonna tell you, a lot of those girls can outfish some of those boys. So they need to watch out. They got to pay attention when I'm teaching them how to tie that knot and how to bait that hook.
What is the biggest fear that kids have in fishing? Is it touching the fish? They probably ain't scared about the hook, but to me, when I was growing up, I didn't want to get finned by the fish.
Yeah. There's really not one overall. Some of them don't like baiting the hook. Some of them don't like taking the fish off. And we try to help them get over that. And of course with catfish you have to be careful, and we teach them the safe way to remove that hook, a safe way to handle that fish. And we tie in a lot of natural resources and conservation in here too, about, why do we keep some fish, why do we put some back? And we always tie that in. But it's the day camps are a lot of fun, and I always have a good time with those, and teaching kids how to fish. You never know. You teach a kid how to fish now, it might be the one that shows up when you're old and can't go fishing. They might come and pick you up and take you fishing.
It's right, and and it teaches them not only that you can, something that they can cook. And we'll talk about cooking here in just a moment too. Cook a fish. And just like this young boy here out in the boat.
So this right here, this is part of our fishing project. And like we got a little sidetracked, but our fishing project, the kids sign up. It costs them $10 to do the project for the whole summer. And we've had kids from all over the state that do this project. You get a record book, and you take you keep that record book, and you put down the dates that you go fishing, the weather conditions, and all those things. And this is this young man's name is John, and he was our junior winner in our record book contest, and he won a guided fishing trip to Lake Murray.
Wow!
Striper fishing, and this was one that he caught, and we had a great time that day. You may have another picture of our senior winner there. And that was first place prize. So hey, sign up for our fishing project. You never know, you might win a guided fishing trip.
That's right, and who knows, you might have one that ends up going being a professional fisher. Have their own television program.
That is exactly right. We have all these fishing programs that go on in schools now, high school fishing, college fishing. And, we didn't have that when I was growing up.
Right.
I may still be in high school if we had. So maybe it's a good thing that we didn't back then. But fishing is something that is, it's just fantastic. And I come across people that they say, well, I don't like fishing because it's boring. Well, I say, well, you're not doing it right.
Right. Well, that's me. I'm kind of hyper when I was growing up.
Yep.
And I guess I found the worst fishing holes ever was. In case I used the wrong bait or something. But and with this, you're really teaching them not only just not throwing a reel and rod in there or a fishing hook or whatever like that. You really teach them about what baits and
and we teach them a little bit about the water and the importance of clean, healthy water and ponds. And we also, in our fishing day camps, we have shown them how to do oxygen samples, because if you're fishing somewhere and it's low oxygen, it would be like this room. If this room didn't have much oxygen in it, you and I would get up and go to another room and try to find somewhere that did.
Right.
Fish do the same thing, and so they breathe oxygen.
Wow.
And so if you're fishing somewhere and you're not catching anything, and you're able to do an oxygen test and the oxygen's low, you need to move. So
wow, that I don't learn a bunch right now about fishing. I have to go out and try some of these things. We're going to go back to the commercial right now, but we'll come back. We're going to talk about food.
Okay.
Your love holds us close and guides us even if we're apart. Most of us, if not all, get a defining moment in life. My moment is when I met you on that beautiful, breezy night. The instant my eyes connected with yours. The shift in my life emerged. You are my everything.
So,
all right, we was talking to Mark Cathcart, and we was talking about fishing, but we're going to switch it to eating. And so this is going to tie into the fishing too. Now, do you eat the fish?
Sometimes we do. Sometimes we do. We've had day camps to where, and usually my day camps last 2 days. depending on what we're teaching. Fishing is usually 2 days that we come together and we learn and we fish. And we've had day camps where we have ate what we caught. And I told the kids, I said, if we don't catch anything, we may not have lunch. And, kind of put it on the line. But they did really well. We caught enough for everybody. So we teach them how to harvest those fish and how to process them and how to prepare them to cook. And then we actually cooked them right there on the spot, and that was lunch.
Oh, so did you like have an open fire flame?
No, we actually had where we had that day camp. We actually had access to a shed with electricity, so we cooked them on a hot plate with. We deep fried them, of course, and we had the fish and we had French fries, and that's what we had for lunch. So
Wow.
they get to see. They get to harvest this animal. They get to process it. They get to cook it and eat it, and kind of tie it all together.
Right.
That food is not. You just don't necessarily go to the grocery store to get food.
Well, see, when I did do a little bit of fishing, like when I was growing up, like I never really had nobody show me how to clean a fish or anything like that, and that's very important.
It's very important. It is very important.
Especially, I didn't know how to scrape those scales off of something.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's got to be not a trick, but a skill set.
It is, and these kids pick up on things so fast. And like you say, you just have to take time to show them. And
what I love about your program here is that we haven't heard anything about electronics and all this stuff right here.
That's exactly right.
And to me, that is electronics. I'm a guru myself on it, but you got to take time away from that to really learn some basic stuff. Now, I heard that you're a chef.
Well, I wouldn't say a chef, but I can cook. And we've done, I've got a club that meets once a month. We call it Baking Buddies. Mm-hmm. And we come together, it's an after-school club, and we teach kids how to basically prepare meals. And we have done a lot of things in the past. We've actually made biscuits. We've made macaroni and cheese. We've made some dessert items. We have made lots of things that, they can prepare themselves, and they don't have to open a can to prepare a meal for themselves. And some of them actually
in other words, it's not going to be like a instant throwing something in the microwave.
It's not an instant. It's actually putting something together. We teach them how to properly use kitchen knives. We teach them how to measure. We teach them how to read a recipe. We teach them how to read a label.
Well, people don't understand. A lot of people don't know how to read a recipe where it says, 1C or 1SP. What do those things mean?
Exactly. And that can really mess up a recipe if you don't know those things, and it's like everything else. There's a skill set that goes with it,
right?
And so there's a foundation of knowledge there that you need. And we have Healthy Lifestyles as a program in 4-H, and we have a Healthy Lifestyles Challenge, and they come together, and it's a competition that's held at the state fair each year. And matter of fact, I believe it was, don't hold me to this, but I believe it was 2 years ago, the 4-H team from Saluda, South Carolina, won the state competition. They got to go to the national competition that was in Louisiana, and they won the national competition.
Wow.
So we got some good cooks here in South Carolina.
Oh, we're in the South. We got to
Yes, got to have some good cooks.
And see, this teaches them the basics here. And time they get a little older like that, then they can say, well, we put a pinch here and a dab at and a scoop of this.
That's right. That's right. They can evolve into that. We try to teach them how to really measure and how to really get accurate on their measurements.
Now, in this club right here, do you have like a time to say, okay, we're going to invite your parents and stuff, and you're going to cook for them?
So we have done that in the past, and all of my club meetings, the parents are always welcome to stay, and the parents get involved a lot of times too. But we always try what we eat. So if you brought them and we put something together, then then you can then you can try it. We had off of our Bacon Buddies Club, we always have something at Christmas time called Cookie Day. It's 4-H Cookie Day. And this year we had about 65 folks that showed up, and we made a lot of cookies and a lot of gingerbread houses.
Wow.
And so they had a great time with that.
Now, you keep talking about what we was talking earlier about a Dutch oven.
Yes, sir.
What is a Dutch oven?
So a Dutch oven is a cast iron pot that has a lid. Now there's several different styles, and the kind that I like, they have the lip around the top, and the reason it's there, and a lot of times they have, Dutch ovens don't have to have legs on them, but a lot of them do. The traditional ones do, and the reason they're like that is so you can put the charcoal underneath of them, and the lip on top is so you can put it on top. Because if you just put it on the bottom, then it's just a frying pan. But when you add that lid with the charcoal on top, that's when it turns into an oven. And probably some of the best biscuits you'll ever eat, or some of the best blackberry cobbler you'll ever eat, will come out of a Dutch oven.
Wow. It's almost really like a crock pot in a way.
It's kind of like a crock pot. You have to take your time. The only difference is a crock pot, you can turn it on and come back and check it a few hours later. You've got to stay with this Dutch oven.
Right.
Yeah, and when you look at the science of it, you can control the temperature inside there with the number of charcoal bricks that you put on it, and so there's a lot of science. Do
you have to stroke some of the fire bricks or the wood or something like that to kind of move it around to get the...
Sometimes you do. Sometimes you do have to move them around and shift them. But
how deep is that Dutch oven? You got different.
You do. Usually they're about 4 inches deep, and that's a good general size of them. But the biggest difference is how big around they are.
Oh, okay.
And so you've got small Dutch ovens that may be only 8-10 inches, and then you've got large ones that 12 inches, 16 inches, 18 inches, and they're rather large. But pizza is great in a Dutch oven.
I was going to say, I bet
pizza is great in a Dutch oven. Yes, yeah. And so just about anything. I mean, at one time, that's all we had to cook. If you're living out on Frontier, you're probably eating out of a Dutch oven a lot of times.
Now, do you have a secret recipe that you teach them how to make the biscuits? Your own, or?
Not really. I don't try to get too outlandish because I try to stay within the bounds of things that they can do and they can do successfully.
Right.
So there's no secret biscuit out there.
I don't know if you had a secret recipe now. Who taught you to cook?
So I spent a lot of time with my mother and my grandmother in the kitchen, and they taught me a lot about cooking, a lot about how to prepare a meal. And anyone, if you've got a mother or grandmother that cooks, spend some time with them.
Right.
Every meal doesn't come from a restaurant. You need to know how to prepare food for yourself.
Right, or a microwave. All of it don't come from there. It's totally different
That's
taste.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
that is exactly
right. That's why my wife Edna does the cooking shows now. That when we great grandkids and we done gone from this here, they be able to go back and look. So, well, this is my great grandmother. This is my grandmother. This is my mother.
That's right.
And I remember her fixing this for us and how good it was. And there's the recipe.
Yep. Now you mentioned a little bit ago about how all these things that we've been talking about, we hadn't talked about phones. We hadn't talked about video games.
Right.
And I just want to mention that 4-H is all of these things that we've talked about, all the traditional things, but we also have a lot of science, a lot of technology things that we do too. And we have something that will go on in April called the South Carolina State 4-H Engineering Challenge. Wow. And we hold that at the state fairgrounds, and school groups, homeschool groups, individuals come down and spend a day with us, and we do all kinds of STEM activities, from building rockets to bridge building. We give kids a certain number of popsicle sticks, the craft sticks, and a certain number of glue sticks from a hot glue gun, and they build a bridge. They have some parameters they have to hit. And they have to do some research before they get there. And then we test them until they break. And amazingly, some of these kids can take 60 craft sticks and 4 glue sticks and make a bridge that's at least 12 inches long and that will hold almost 50 pounds before they break. And we have a robotics challenge, so they're programming robots. Because remember, with 4-H, we provide something for everyone.
Right.
So you don't always have those kids that can have a cow or a goat or a rabbit or a chicken, but they may like technology more,
right.
And we have something in 4-H for them too.
Well, that's great, because it's the whole thing. Like, to me, I'm looking at it is a teaching tool that someone said, well, what am I going to use this math for? And it can be used for cooking, it can be used for fishing. I mean, like testing the water if it's got the oxygen in it.
Yes.
I mean, so you're really producing, saying what you're learning in school, your basic math and things like that, where you wonder, so, well, how am I ever going to use this? What am I going to use this for? Right. It will come up one day.
It will. I mean, it will. And those are things, and that's what I love to do with my program, is actually show kids why you need to learn these things, why you need a strong math foundation, why you need a good, strong science foundation, why you even need English. I never thought, let me tell you, I struggled in school. I struggled with English continuously, and I never knew that I would be at a point in my life to where I submit articles to the newspaper, that I submit articles to Clemson,
right,
for things, reporting, and those writing skills come in handy. Yeah. And so I'm glad I paid attention just enough. I wish I'd have paid more attention.
Well, I've got a wife that points mine out real quick for me.
Okay.
It's almost like when you how a teacher used to circle the things in red.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, I get it from her all the time.
Oh,
Except it's verbal. Well, Mark, I really appreciate you coming on. And, I mean, it's really, we could went on all day. I mean,
absolutely. We've just scratched the surface.
And things there. So I encourage people to come and contact Mark Cathcart and get your child involved. It's like we've got some great things going here. We'll put the link out there where you'll be able to go right to them real quick. And they're local here, so there's some wonderful things going on here in Union, and this is one of the best. And I think Mark coming here and sharing all these things with us.
I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, well, we will see y'all next week, and I'll let it be a surprise. I'll let you know who's coming next week, and when I put the little advertisement out who's coming, I always like to give a little bit more bio there. So, Mark, you have a great day, and everyone else,